You have been an MP for the last 6 years. Now you're entitled to a retirement. Before that, you were a provincial MP. In other words, the majority of your career has been at the expense of taxpayers, but you chose to boycott conservatives and right-leaning media such as ours, and you supported Justin Trudeau's bill that aimed to censor the internet. So why do you think that it's ethically acceptable to marginalize conservatives and refuse to treat them with respect? Answer: I do not answer questions from Rebel News because it's an organization that spreads disinformation, so I'm not going to answer your question, but I will take the time to say that what's key in this election for me is this question of who's going to fight for you and who's going to defend what's important for you. Healthcare, for instance, who's going to defend the interests of everyday Canadians and not just CEOs. And we have major companies who are scamming people. Question: you are banned from Indian territory for your policies, but here in Canada you support censorship and words that you think are unacceptable, especially through censorship online, and you actually refuse to answer questions from journalists with whom you do not agree, as you have just done. So you should be punished in one way or another, is the impression that leaves. So how are you different than people who would put you in prison? Answer: that is another example of why I do not answer questions from Rebel News, because you are spreading disinformation, and your question is an example of this.
Oh, what a funny guy. He's such a funny guy.
No, you're just joking.
Hello, Mr. Singh. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. Your party takes great pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online.
Sorry, I didn't get your outlet.
Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.
Okay.
Your party...
You know where I'm going to go with this, though, right?
Can I speak?
Yeah, you can. I'm just going to say you know where I'm going to go with it, though.
Wow.
Your party takes pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online hate speech. Yet you stay silent about ongoing attacks against Christians, even after Conservative MP Jamil Javani's order paper question revealed that over 200 churches have been targeted by arson and vandalism since claims of remains being discovered at former residential schools swept the nation in 2021. These claims have been disproven by bands that excavated and remain unproven by those that have not. Will you condemn the rise in acts of hate against Christians today and explain what your party will do moving forward to keep Christians safe from hate in Canada?
Again, thank you, but I'm not going to respond to an organization that promotes misinformation and disinformation like Rebel News. So no, I'm not going to respond to your question.
Wow.
What she said had no misinformation in it.
Perhaps you didn't hear me. Over 200 Christian places of worship have been attacked in Canada since 2021. Many served First Nations communities, many were historic, and they diverted police and resources and put others at risk. What do you say to Canadians who see your refusal to answer, especially from one of the few media outlets here that are not funded by the state, as proof that a vote for you is a vote for a dangerous radical party that gaslights the public into thinking it stands against hate when its silence is instead emboldening Christophobia?
Your question is another example of why I don't respond to agencies like Rebel News that promote misinformation and disinformation.
Sheila Gunn-Reid for Rebel News.
Yay, Sheila.
We've seen the NDP tonight refuse to take questions from independent journalists. The Liberals have gone one step further. The Carney campaign has called the police on independent journalists. Trudeau before that brought in C-18, C-11. The Liberals are promising a revamped version of the Online Harms Act. What would a Conservative government do to ensure the independence of the press and protect Canadians' right to have access to information and hold their politicians to account?
We are the only party that's willing to protect freedom of the press, of all the media. And we will also repeal C-11, the censorship law. We will remove the censorship of Canadian news on web platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and we will fight back against any kind of Orwellian online censorship law like the one that the previous Liberal government instituted. It was designed to create the possibility of preemptive arrests of people, where you could be arrested if you were suspected of sometime in the future planning to say something harmful online. You could be under a peace bond. I mean, it really is Orwellian. And I note that many people across the spectrum have spoken out against this censorship. Even someone like Margaret Atwood, not known to be a conservative, has said that this kind of censorship is not only bad for democracy, but inhibits artistic expression. So I stand for free speech, and we will respect the right of Canadians to have access to the media that they choose.
Canada's suffering the most violent anti-Semitic crime wave in history.
Yes.
There have been shootings, fire bombings, even a riot right here in Montreal. But not all of this anti-Semitic hatred and incitement rises to the high level of a criminal code offense. Do you believe that foreign nationals, that is, people who are not Canadian citizens, should be deported for participating in these hate marches or other pro-Hamas activities that don't rise to the level of a crime?
Well, what I have said is when there is a crime involved, including crimes of vandalism, that visitors to Canada should be deported. You simply can't come here and firebomb a Jewish bakery or someone's home or smash windows out of a political riot and expect to stay in this country if you are on a visitor visa. We will be bringing in tougher laws to penalize those who are permanent residents and citizens who break laws and harm our communities. But look, this is the disintegration we have witnessed after the lost Liberal decade. Everybody is divided. This group is divided against that group. There is crime and chaos in our streets. The Liberals have promoted this division by saying one thing to one group and then exactly the opposite to a different group. We had a tradition in this country before this government where you could come from places, the conflict-ridden places in the world, and you would leave the fight behind. You might have a debate about the politics of that place when you sat down in a coffee shop in Montreal or Toronto, but it never overflowed into street violence. We need to get back to that. You should know, we welcome people to this country. Sure, bring your culture, bring your traditions, bring your family, but do not bring foreign conflicts onto our streets. Mm-hmm. We're going to have peaceful streets again, and we're going to be united. All of us should consider ourselves Canadian first and put foreign divisions behind us.
Mr. Blanchet, good evening. David Menzies with Rebel News.
Here's David.
Mr. Blanchet, since 1941, a pipeline has brought oil from Portland, Maine to Montreal. Over the years, it has brought hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, much of it from OPEC dictatorships. Why have you never, not even once, opposed OPEC conflict oil being imported through an aging pipeline? Why do you prefer OPEC conflict oil over Alberta ethical oil?
I seem to believe that you already have the answer you want to write, so your question seems to contain the answer. I believe I am the one who authorized the change of direction in Enbridge Line B in 2013, which seems to prove that I'm not a fanatic against oil. But I believe that we've got to reduce our consumption of oil progressively, including from Alberta, because we are clearly being very expensive for every family in Quebec and Canada and destroying the whole planet. The denial of the reality of climate change since the beginning of this campaign and the change of heart of Mr. Carney, who decided to be more conservative than Mr. Poilievre, is very harmful for environment.
Destroying the
Blanchet,
whole
just
planet.
to follow up on that question, your party and your stance on pipelines would seem to be diametrically opposed to Quebecers. A poll came out showing that 74% of Quebecers support the building of new pipelines. Why are you and your party not in sync with the majority of people in this province, sir?
Don't you know my love for commenting polls? Have a nice evening.